Hello everyone, it's Jabbar here. So I decided that I'll make this new series, My Bad, where I'll look back on previous videos and point out mistakes I made, as well as possible misunderstandings that have arisen from them in my comment section. In this particular case, we'll be covering the video, Are Somali People Black? In this particular episode, I'll be doing both, acknowledging my mistakes as well as pointing out several misunderstandings. Extra emphasis on the latter though. Firstly, I'd like to apologize to anyone who I may have offended in this video. It was not my intent, nor was it one of my best videos if I'm being frank. So, I'll start off by pointing out that I made several mistakes in this video. It was not a topic that I was very interested in doing in the first place, and at the end of the day, you put more effort into a topic that you're passionate about. Unfortunately, this is also part of the reason why Africa is the underdog in the history community. Despite doing lots of research, it was admittedly a bit rushed. One mistake I made at the very beginning, the Ugandan man in question was actually Somali. The Somali officers assumed he was Ugandan and discriminated against him, just because of his Bantu-like features. So my mistake, I totally misread the article. Secondly, I was told by quite a few people that I was wrong about the way the caste system works in Somalia. I've never personally lived there, so all my info came from my sources, which are generously cited in the description. I'd also like to point out that I have nothing against Somali people at all. Though I don't know much about their history, the little bit I do know is very impressive, and I spoke very highly of their history in this video. Arguably saving the best for last, and perhaps one of the most misunderstood types of sailors in African history, would be the Somali. In this day and age, the country of Somalia is associated with a corrupt, war-torn nation full of emaciated scavengers and pirates. This is further perpetuated by media portrayals of them in movies such as Black Hawk Down. However, prior to the modern country that is recovering from the unapologetic effects of colonialism and illegal foreign fishing industries, Somalia was home to many thriving kingdoms that regularly engaged in maritime trade. It's when the Portuguese exercised an aggressive policy on all cities of the East African coast. They would surround the relatively defenseless Swahili states with gunships and force them into submission under the threat of opening fire. They would then sack and plunder these cities for riches and place a Portuguese representative in place of their rulers. By the time they arrived in the territory of the Ajuran Empire of modern-day Somalia in 1506, the typical patterns of plundering continued. The Portuguese looted and burned their capital city. However, unlike their Swahili counterparts, the Ajuran Empire was able to successfully defeat the Portuguese in the Battle of Barawa, with the Portuguese suffering nearly 20 times more casualties than the Ajuran army. After the ships were spotted by coastal guards, the Ajuran naval commander Ahmed Diri deployed a fleet of ships to meet the Portuguese in full-on naval battle, effectively destroying every single Portuguese boat. So seeing as the only other video that I ever had that discussed the Somali spoke highly of them, I can't really see how anyone can draw the conclusion that I have something against them. Thirdly, this video was a patron request. I made a very clear disclaimer about that in the video, as I do with all other patron requests. If you don't know what that means, let me elaborate. It was not my idea, and in fact, it wasn't even an idea I was very enthusiastic about doing in the first place. Patrons who pledge $10 or more are allowed to request videos, and I fulfilled them. This particular request specifically read, I see, that definitely makes sense. Yupper's bummer about the stressful occupation. Anywho, I was wondering if you could do one about the ethnic Horn Africans and their history, and how they often mistreat Bantus, Nilotes, Oromos, and other non-ethnic Horners. I opted to focus specifically on the Somali-Bantu relationships just for the sake of something consistent and relatively unanimous. Even that by itself is still a highly complex topic. I'd have to sit here talking for hours all day to fully dissect that issue, let alone all of the other groups involved like the Nilotes, Ethiopians, and so on. I've decided that I'm just gonna opt out of topics like these from now on, altogether. Not just because of the backlash on this video, but simply because I don't enjoy making videos like these. In fact, as of February 11th, patrons can only make requests that are strictly regarding African history or culture in a largely positive and or interesting light. That was From Nothing's original goal, and videos like these have all but deviated away from that initial intent. There is a disproportionately large amount of negative topics in regards to the African continent, and From Nothing was originally created to change that, and it's time that I get back on track. So, moving on to the whole I'm not black, I'm Somali thing. Yes, that's the thumbnail of the video, but nowhere in the video did I ever personally criticize the Somali sense of non-black self-identity. I simply shared a real-life scenario that happened in a Somali airport, and I quoted the words of a man involved and how he described them as black people. I also discussed their caste system, their identity abroad, and placed a thumbnail relevant to that. In fact, numerous people have criticized me for ignoring the immense genetic diversity in Africa, and that I'm acting as though the American views on blackness are the norm in the African continent. This is simply not true because, in fact, I even discussed this in one of my former videos. Contrary to the people of Africa, the cultural and ethnic identity that African Americans have is something that is based entirely on race. For example, if someone in the United States has the same physical features as an African, right away they're looked upon as an African American, and are thus classified as belonging to the same ethnic group as those who share those features. Barack Obama is an excellent example. He is considered by most to be the first president of the United States belonging to the African American ethnic group, despite being born to a mother who was Caucasian. This mentality simply does not exist among African people. The criteria to fall within the same ethnic group as another person is significantly more precise and has little to nothing to do with skin color. So as you can see, I'm very well aware that blackness is largely a Western concept, and I have been even long before I even created from nothing. And then I have allegations of me being racist against Somali people, and honestly I have no idea why this is so prevalent because I made it very clear that I have nothing against them. Also guys, I just want to give a quick disclaimer and say that not all Somali people have these views or prejudices against Bantu groups, and it would be nothing short of hypocrisy to treat them as such, so please keep things friendly. And I know this is a hot topic, but the purpose of the video was purely just educational, not propaganda. Not sure how anyone could have possibly misunderstood that as racist propaganda unless they simply skipped that part of the video entirely. I'm always quick to call out anyone who's racist, including my own people. And for those blacks who think that you can't be racist, I have a few words for you. Stop being such a hypocrite. Martin Luther King fought for peace, harmony, and equality. Not hate, not division, not separation. Him, along with all other civil rights activists, fought against segregation and wanted to remove and delete the division between whites and blacks. And people like you are doing nothing more than trying to keep that segregation and division alive. And yeah, this video wasn't even a Patreon request either. This was something that I personally wanted to cover because it's important to me despite the fact that I was calling out members of my own ethnicity. Needless to say, I also get members of my own race and my own ethnicity telling me I'm racist, or I'm a white guy in disguise, or I'm a coon, or everything in between. So yeah. Again though, I totally acknowledge that this video did have its flaws and I sincerely apologize for them. However, some people have a tendency to spot one problem and snowball it into 10 other problems that weren't even there to begin with. Remember, if you're on the African continent, I'm on your side. That's what this channel is for. African people and their history is the most misunderstood in the world, and that is why From Nothing exists. Don't forget that. Thanks for watching guys, and I know this seemed a little ranty, but at the same time I just feel like it's important as a way of communicating with my subscribers and my viewers and just letting them know that I'm listening, I'm watching, and I'm observing. If you don't like it, let me know down in the comment section. If you do, let me know that I should continue it, but it's just something that I feel like would be a valuable way of communicating with you guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and always remember, we don't come from nothing.